This is News 25 with Deanna O'Donnell and Unette Gentry. News 25, local news you can count on. News is brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law. Call 727-9900 today for your free consultation. If you need a lawyer, you need Nelson. News 25 is also brought to you by Silver State Health, Pahrumps exclusive pediatric care clinic. Call 775-505-1214 for an appointment.
Welcome to News 25. I'm Deanna O'Donnell.
And I'm Unette Gentry. It's Tuesday, May 18th.
And as you know, yesterday was tax days. And what should you do if you missed the May 17th deadline to file and pay taxes? The federal income tax deadline has passed for most individual taxpayers. However, some haven't filed their 2020 tax returns or paid their taxes that are due. If an individual taxpayer is owed a refund, there is no penalty for filing late. On the other hand, tax owed and not paid by May 17th is subject to penalties and interest. Anyone who didn't file and owes taxes should file a return as soon as possible so that they can pay as much as they can to reduce those penalties and interest. Electronic filing options, including IRS Free File, are still available on irs.gov through October 15th of this year. To prepare and return files electronically, taxpayers should then review their payment options. The IRS has information for taxpayers who can't pay taxes they owe. Some taxpayers may have extra time to file their tax returns and pay any taxes due. This includes some disaster victims, taxpayers living overseas, certain military service members, and eligible support personnel in combat zones. Filing soon is very important because the late filing and late payment penalties on unpaid taxes can add up quickly. However, in some cases, a taxpayer filing after the deadline may qualify for penalty relief. For those charged a penalty, they may contact the IRS by calling the number on their notice and explain why they couldn't file their taxes or pay them on time. Taxpayers who have a history of filing and paying on time often qualify for administrative penalty relief. A taxpayer usually qualifies if they have filed and paid timely for the past 3 years and meet other requirements. For details, taxpayers should visit the first-time penalty abatement page on irs.gov. State filing and payment deadlines may be different from the federal deadlines. A list of state division websites is available through the Federation of Tax Administrators.
And the Nye County Sheriff's Office is investigating an attempted sexual assault on a minor, which led to the arrest of a Las Vegas man.
Law enforcement was using an undercover account and began an online social media conversation on May 10th with a person using the screen name King Crabber 72. During the conversation, the undercover, or UC, advised that she was a 13-year-old girl. The suspect told her that he had a fantasy about being with a younger girl who was willing. According to the declaration of arrest, the suspect sent a picture that showed his face and erect penis, and the picture of his face matched the profile picture. King Crabber 72 allegedly suggested that he and UC meet to engage in sexual intercourse, describing in graphic detail the sex acts he wanted to engage in. King Crabber 72 then reportedly sent a photo of 3 colored condoms, orange, green, and white, to UC and advised that he lived in Las Vegas but would drive to Pahrump to meet with UC and engage in sexual intercourse. UC told the suspect she would meet him at the Horizon Market gas station. On May 11th, a man identified as Timothy Spencer arrived at the Horizon Market in the vehicle he had described to UC. Spencer was read his rights and allegedly admitted that he came to meet UC. He further advised that he was attracted to younger girls and the conversation he had with UC was on his cell phone. Spencer's face matched the photos he sent to UC and he consented to a search of his phone. When investigators opened the phone, it opened to the social media app that contained the conversation between Spencer and UC, and it was already open. When Spencer consented to a search of his car, officers located the photographed condoms in the center console. During conversation with Spencer, it was discovered that he was to be in Alaska in 2 weeks, and he further advised that he has ties to Oregon and California, posing a flight risk. Spencer was arrested for attempted sexual assault against a child under 14, exhibition of obscene material to a minor, luring a child with a computer for sex, luring a child to engage in sex. He was taken to Nye County Detention Center and booked accordingly.
Thanks to Missy Kohler for that report. Well, we have a follow-up now to an accident we told you about last week. A pickup truck crashed into an apartment off Bourbon Street here in Pahrump. The driver and his passenger are now facing charges.
Saturday, May 8th, a pickup went off the roadway and crashed into the back of an apartment on Bourbon Street. The building was heavily damaged. Luckily, no one inside was hurt. At the time, Nye County Sheriff's Office deputies say the driver, identified as Keith Santo, had red, watery eyes, was mumbling, and appeared unstable. Deputies administered 3 field sobriety tests, noting that Santo failed all 3. A Nevada Highway Patrol trooper conducted 3 other tests, which the Sheriff's Office says Santo also failed. Santo was placed under arrest. He's now facing a charge of DUI above the legal limit and use or possession of drug paraphernalia. Deputies found a pipe commonly used to ingest methamphetamine in the center console of his truck. As deputies were en route to the crash, they were advised that a woman who had reportedly been riding in the bed of the truck had fled the scene on foot. She was identified as Leah Armendariz. The Sheriff's Office says they located Armendariz just north of Irene's Casino. She was placed under arrest for a burglary that occurred the day before. Deputies say Armendariz had been identified on video surveillance as the person who attempted to steal a door from a local residence, but instead stole a surveillance camera that had recorded the whole incident and sent the video it captured to the homeowner's phone. Armendariz is now facing a felony charge of residential burglary.
More news right after this break.
You're watching News 25. Today's news is brought to you in part by Dr. George Leaks, Pahrumps optometrist since 1990, offering full spectrum eye care for children and adults. Call today, 727-8300.
Welcome back to News 25. Well, in today's financial news, the U.S. is sending millions of COVID doses overseas, and some major retailers announced that fully vaccinated customers will no longer have to wear a mask. And steel stocks are surging. Those details now.
Topping our news, President Biden is sending 20 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccines made by Pfizer, Moderna, and J&J overseas. The president says the vaccines will go to countries that are the most in need and are struggling hard with the pandemic. Americans who are fully vaccinated will be able to roam free without a mask in Starbucks, CVS, Target, Walmart, Costco, and Trader Joe's unless required by law. Home Depot and Ulta are 2 of the stores standing by mask rules while monitoring the pandemic situation. Steel stocks, including Nucor, are surging. The U.S. and the European Union have reached a truce in the tariff dispute, and now the EU is suspending its decision to hike prices on steel and on aluminum.
To find out where you can see us every day, go to businessfirstam.com.
Thanks so much, Angela. Well, the Nevada Department of Public Safety State Fire Marshal Division executed an arrest warrant with the assistance of the Eureka County Sheriff's Office on May 13th of this year. On February 26th, the Eureka County Sheriff's Office informed the State Fire Marshal Division of a possible arson fire involving a single-family home. Investigators from Carson City and Las Vegas responded. During the investigation, Arthur James Miles Jr. became the primary suspect of the fire incident. An arrest warrant was issued for Miles for arson in the first degree. Investigators working with Eureka County deputies served the arrest warrant at Miles' residence. Miles was booked into the Eureka County Detention Center. Within the past 12 months, the Nevada Department of Public Safety State Fire Marshal Division has made arson-related arrests in Lyon County, Pershing County, Lander County, and Elko County that have resulted in convictions. The Nevada Department of Public Safety State Fire Marshal Division is dedicated to the pursuit and prosecution of those who commit arson within the state of Nevada. If you have any information relating to fires in Nevada, please call the arson hotline at 844-682-7766. Callers can remain anonymous.
And one person is transported to the hospital after a 2-vehicle crash this afternoon here in Pahrump.
Traffic was blocked by the Nye County Sheriff's Office auxiliary units for the investigation of a 2-vehicle crash that occurred late this afternoon on Wilson and Buell. One vehicle sustained major damage, the other vehicle minor damage. This accident occurred between a pickup truck and a maroon sedan. 2 people were medically evaluated at the scene by Pahrump Valley Fire and Rescue medics. One person was transported by ground ambulance to Desert View Hospital. Nye County Sheriff's Office deputies are investigating. And a local woman was arrested recently for alleged prostitution.
On May 6, deputies responded to an address in Pahrump for a report of threats being made. Once Nye County Sheriff's Office arrived, they were approached by a female walking out of the backyard of the residence. The female was identified as Symphony Lennon. She told deputies that she and the resident of the home had been dating for a couple of years and that she wouldn't leave until she got her money. Lennon consented to allowing the deputy to read a text conversation on her cell phone. According to the declaration of arrest, while scanning through the text, the deputy saw conversation that, based on training and experience, led him to believe this was a relationship between a prostitute and a customer, not a normal dating relationship. The deputy also recognized multiple dating apps and texts on her phone that related to a popular internet prostitution site. While telling the deputy that she and the resident had allegedly been dating for a couple of years, she continued yelling about money owed to her, and she stated that he does take care of her financially, but there's not a money for sex agreement. The resident stated that he wanted her to leave and trespass from the property. Deputies gave Lennon a trespass warning and further questioned her about the relationship she has with the resident. Lennon replied, reportedly using language, terminology, and slang that, based on law enforcement training and experience and the totality of the circumstances, gave cause for deputies to arrest Symphony Lennon for prostitute engaging in prostitution activity.
And a man convicted for an attempted home invasion appears in court to answer to a probation violation.
Brandon Reading was originally arrested in 2018 for attempted home invasion and was released on parole. Officers from parole and probation were in Judge Lane's courtroom recently to testify to his parole violation. Reading declined to admit to the violations, so Officer Davis took to the stand to explain the infractions. Davis stated that he was called out for a report of fighting that involved Reading. Officer Davis searched Reading and found a marijuana pipe, a bag containing spray paint cans, and a can of malt liquor, all violations of his parole. Reading allegedly admitted to the items belonging to him. Officer Davis also stated that Reading was on house arrest but was found outside of his home. Reading also has cases pending that involve domestic battery by strangulation in violation of his probation terms. The defense argued that Reading's behavior is indicative of alcohol problems and asked for him to be put back on probation, and if he violates again, he would have to answer to the underlying sentence of 2 to 5 years for the attempted home invasion. When asked if he had anything to say, Reading said that he wanted to be put into a sober living home. The state told the judge that Reading was in jail for attempted home invasion and that was a serious charge. The state thought that his parole should be revoked. In the end, Judge Lane agreed and revoked Reading's parole, remanded him into custody with 300 days credit for time served.
And the Board of County Commissioners recently had an opportunity to award a contract for public defender services for all of Nye County.
Commissioner Strickland said that she had reached out to the other judges throughout Nye County and Lorinda Wickman, who sits on the Board of Indigent Defense Services. Strickland said that the information she has received from those she consulted is that there is not enough support in the rural communities by the current defense program. The commissioners wanted to be sure that all those contracted as public defenders know that they may need to travel to the areas of Tonopah and Beatty to provide services for those in those areas. Assistant County Manager Lorena Dellinger explained that there are actually 5 contracts for public defender services, 1 for Tonopah and Beatty, and 4 for Pahrump. The contract reads that if there is a problem providing service to Tonopah and Beatty, the Pahrump public defenders will help in those areas. The contract that was to be awarded would be replacing one contract for an attorney that is leaving, and this term would be the remainder of that contract ending June 30th, with an amended one to begin at that time. The June 2nd BOCC meeting will have an agenda item that directly addresses a plan for indigent defense, and the other agenda item will be for a complete renewal for the remaining 4 public defender contracts. Public comment questioned the ability of meeting with clients in remote areas via telephone or teleconference. District Attorney Chris Arabia said that he believes there will be more communications done remotely in the future, but depending on the case, it can be important for the lawyer and the client to be sitting together to better communicate. He also said developing a rapport is important and fair, and sometimes it is best done face-to-face. There was 3 applicants for the public attorney contract. The commissioners voted 4-1 to award the bid to Pitaro and Fumo. Commissioner Strickland was the only no vote.
News 25 returns after this break.
You're watching News 25, brought to you by Mountain West Lawyer, Injury Attorneys, 727-9500. News 25, local news you can count on. News is brought to you by Canyon Ridge Periodontics. Give them a call at 702-966-0302.
Welcome back. Well, the biggest celebration of the year in Tonopah is just a week away. Jim Butler Days kicks off May 23rd and runs through the 31st. The annual event always attracts large crowds, but with easing COVID restrictions, this year's event might be even bigger than usual. Mark and Tiffany run the Tonopah Liquor Company and say that the week-long celebration has something for everyone.
So Jim Butler Days is our town's founder celebration, and everybody gets together and celebrates our Founders Day during the Memorial Day weekend. And also they have all the graduation and high school reunions held on that weekend as well. So basically everybody who's ever lived in Tonopah or graduated from a Tonopah high school, from our Tonopah High School, comes and celebrates with everybody else. So it's a big celebration.
There's really so much going on throughout the week. We have some stuff midweek, which is usually ends up being more locals because people can't make it out till the weekend. We have a pageant, we have a talent show during the week, but hit the weekend and...
Yeah, so Friday we kick it off with our street dance, and basically in the parking lot that's right next door to our building, they open that up for vendors, and we set up a stage. The town sets up a stage, and we plan to have music all day long.
Yeah, this year we're going to have three, 4, 5 different bands, but a few locals, but three bands are coming. So we'll have music from about noon till midnight out there.
Yeah. And then all the bands are from Nevada.
Yeah, all the bands are from Nevada. One from Elko, one from Hawthorne, and one from Las Vegas.
Saturday is a big day. It's the statewide mining competitions that are held here in Tonopah. And then they also have a kids event that day as well. I'm on the Facebook side of things, and we have a website coordinator. So I direct a lot of the traffic towards our website. It's www.jimbutlerdays.com.
And you can also find more information, including a schedule of events, on Facebook at Jim Butler Days. The event is free and open to the public.
So looking forward to that. Well, Nye County has issued an update on their guidance going along with the CDC guidelines on face masks. Per the recently revised CDC guidelines, they are saying that all members of the public entering public buildings that are owned by the town and county are required to wear the face masks, except if you are claiming a medical exemption. Members of the public that are claiming a medical exemption are not required to wear a face mask, but are still required to wear a face shield. Those unable or unwilling to wear either a mask or a shield may participate in the meeting remotely. They'll not be asking details or requiring proof about that medical condition. And fully vaccinated members of the public may enter the town and county buildings without a face mask or shield. The county will not require proof of your vaccination. Those who believe that these guidelines are not adequate to prevent disease transmission are free to continue to wear the face mask to protect themselves and others.
And when it comes to boosting immunity, nothing beats healthy habits. And while you can't improve your immune system overnight, Cleveland Clinic's Kristen Kirkpatrick says that you can start by looking at the foods you eat.
If we look at specific foods, there have been studies on fiber. So getting foods that have enough fiber have helped with immune function. Getting enough greens in particular seem to be kind of a magic elixir for helping that immune system stay in tip-top shape.
Maintaining a healthy weight is another way to boost immune function. Kirkpatrick advises us to take a look at not only what we're eating, but also when we're eating. If you need to drop a few pounds, she says one effective strategy is to eat all of your meals and snacks within an 8 to 10 hour window each day.
When we are more in line with our circadian rhythm, our circadian clock, when we are eating during daylight hours, when we're eating as humans should, that helps with overall fat loss, it helps with weight loss, it helps with immunity, it helps with so many concepts.
Too much stress can have a negative impact on your immune system, and if you're not getting enough sleep, it hurts your body's ability to fight off illness as well. But if you turn to alcohol to help de-stress, Kirkpatrick says you're likely doing more harm than good.
Even though it's a sedative, alcohol will wake you up in the middle of the night and it will make it hard for you to go back to sleep. So your sleep is really impacted.
Kirkpatrick says in addition to upsetting your sleep, too much alcohol can have a negative impact on your weight, your liver, and your overall health. She recommends enjoying alcohol minimally and keeping it to 1 drink per day or less.
News 25 WeatherCam is brought to you by Lerner and Rowe Injury Attorney's Office in Pahrump. In a wreck, need a check? Call 702-877-1500.
Hi, it's John Kohler staring out the KPVM weather window. It's a great day to be a cactus. Look at that. Got a happy little flower there. Sunshine, 90-degree temperatures. We'll tell you about all the weather here in just a second.
News 25 weather is brought to you by Dairy Council of Nevada. The splash of cream in your coffee, the dollop of sour cream on your burrito, the melted toasty cheese on your pizza. Undeniably delicious, undeniably dairy. Enjoy what's real.
Well, in our surrounding areas, Death Valley is acting like Death Valley, 108 with your low of 78 tonight, 98 and 72 in Las Vegas, 97-64 in Amargosa, Beatty, 93-62. Goldfield and Tonopah in your low 80s with the overnights as your high 40s. Carson City 76-47. Fallon high 85 and low tonight the same as Carson City at 47. And Fernley 82-49. We're looking at your 7-day coming up here with temperatures all over the place. 93 there tomorrow, dipping down all the way to 67 by Friday. And of course, we're going to have a lot of winds coming in, and your overnight low 47 coming back up over the weekend, keeping it nice over the weekend though. But all the way next Tuesday, you're going to be in high 90s with your low of 62. And that's going to wrap up this edition of News 25. I'm Deanna.
I'm Unette. Good luck with Mega Millions. Good night.
Good night.